Oh, this is so fitting.
All right, I'll keep it. We can even drink during it. We just have to set it down. So gentle. Guys, welcome back to the Strong AF Club podcast. As always, I'm your co-host Nate Craig, joined by
Asim Fayez.
And guys, this episode is going to be a little bit controversial. We're going to be talking about steroids and performance-enhancing drugs. All right, let's just get straight into it. So, I got 10 questions for you, Asim. 1.
Actually, before anything, I'm going to preface this. Not only we're not doctors, pharmacists, chemists, or anything above with any medical disclaimer, insert disclaimer, don't sue us for anything we say. Secondly, we're not condoning anything we're about to say.
Correct.
We're just answering questions with our general knowledge alongside my past experience. We'll continue on.
Great call. I'm a huge fan of not getting sued. Also, and we talked about it in episode 10, guys. People are going to be people. We know some of y'all are naughty. You're drinking too much. You're taking stuff you maybe shouldn't and whatnot, and so you may as well be educated on it so 100%. That if you are going to have those kind of habits and whatnot, you can tweak it in the healthiest way possible. So.
Exactly. I mean, like, especially with this day and age where like accessibility to a lot of these things it's so easy now. It's not this random website you got to order from.
You don't need to know a guy in the back of Gold's Gym or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So because it's so accessible, I'm seeing more and more young kids and young people in general dabbling, if you will. So I just thought it would be important to not only share my story from when I was younger, but also to kind of just shed some light on our limited knowledge on the subject to kind of help steer people at least in the right direction. If you're going to do whatever the hell you want to do, you're an adult. You make your own damn decisions.
Yep.
But we feel like it's our duty to at least somewhat educate so that way you can make an educated decision.
Yeah.
And not fuck yourself up.
Yeah, good call.
All
right, let's jump straight into the questions. So, number 1, what damage can steroids do to your body?
There's so much.
That's a broad one.
It's a broad one. I mean, because there's so many different types of substances out there, and there's so many more than what I know off the top of my head. But some of the damage is lasting. I mean, everything from like the obvious skin, hair loss, things like that.
By skin, do you mean the breaking out?
Breaking out, things like that.
Is that for men and females?
I don't know about females. I would like to say yeah.
Probably.
I would. Yeah, I don't see how it wouldn't, but I know more on the male side of it.
Gotcha.
That's where at least where my knowledge kind of drops off is after the male side of it. So I would say acne, oily skin, hair loss. I don't want to say it ages you, but people do look like they're aged.
I have noticed that.
Yeah. It looks like it ages you. I don't know if it actually does. Gyno, that's a fucking terrible one. Small. Your grapefruits become grapes. So that's not fun.
Hey, so user-friendly of you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I think it's a long rap sheet. I just know that some of these things are irreversible, and some of these things can be life-threatening, like the damage it does to your prostate and the effects it has later in life. You start enlarging that prostate too early, now you're that guy at 40 years old, maybe even 35 years old, who's standing over the urinal trying to concentrate just to pee. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of things that people don't think about because they want that short-term gratification. It just causes a lot of lasting effects.
And so pretty much point being, there are negative side effects a lot of the times if it's not done carefully and correctly.
And heavily dependent on your genetics. If your genetics sucks, you're screwed. So that's something you can't change. You can't out-chemistry bad genetics. So if your genetics sucks, you're just going to set yourself up for failure. You're going to reap less benefits and so more negatives. So just be mindful. If you're a genetic specimen, genetic freak, obviously you're going to see better results than the next guy. But if you're someone who's done everything under the sun and you still got a pencil neck and barely a bump on your arm, you're probably not the candidate to be doing something like that.
Right. All right, next one. That's a stupid one. Why do some people choose to stay natural? I'm going to skip that one. What's the difference between steroids and TRT?
I'm going to give you my kind of look on it because like TRT, HRT, whatever is essentially just hormone replacement therapy. And at this day and age, that's such a freaking wide spectrum. It is absolutely insane how easy it is to get shit now. And still have it be labeled under the umbrella of TRT, therapeutic use. I think where it exceeds therapeutic use for like testosterone would be like 100, 150, I think it's milligrams is the measurement per week. Because anything past that, I mean, you will see results. It's inevitable. Any substance outside of that is steroids. And any usage of that or higher, you're now getting to like steroids, super physiological kind of results where it's like more than what you could have naturally done in a reasonable time frame.
Gotcha. Okay. And on that note, does TRT, because I actually don't even know, does that just help you recover fast as hell, or?
Yeah, I mean, this is where I want to be careful because I don't want to like make it seem like it's something that everyone should do.
Right.
But you're gonna feel better. You're gonna have better clarity. Your hormones are gonna be more balanced. You're probably gonna be a little bit more level-headed. Some people. You're gonna recover faster. You're gonna build muscle a little bit quicker, depending on the dosage. And your libido and all that will be that of when you were like in high school, most likely, depending on the amount you take. I think I don't know about this, but I feel like it would be like a bell curve where early on you see good results, take a little bit more, you see even better results, take a lot of bit more, and now it just comes back onto the back end of that bell curve where it actually becomes super harmful.
Yeah.
That's my assumption. I'm not a scientist, so I don't know the research behind that. But that's just where my gut's telling me what happened.
I gotcha. And, okay, so another one is I always hear people, even watching videos and whatnot, like people like, oh, that guy's obviously on steroids, that guy's on steroids, that chick's on steroids. How do you tell? How can you tell?
You can't. I mean, in my line of work and what I've been doing over the last 15 years, I've crossed a user. I've crossed someone under, using something at some point all the time, and the concoctions and amounts that people take always shocks me because it's rarely the ones you think are on stuff that are on stuff. It's usually the ones who look like shit or look kind of mediocre that are on the most, and it's the ones who look insane that are either on nothing or on very little. Because genetics plays a factor. Once again, you can't out chemistry bad genetics. You also can't out chemistry discipline and laziness. What I notice is when people do go to the dark side, they get lazy as fuck.
And maybe that's why, I think it was you, I forget who said it, but some of the people that are on gear of some form, it's some of the best physiques you've ever seen and some of the worst.
Yes.
And maybe that's a byproduct of, oh, I have this magical supplement. I don't need to work as hard. I don't need to fine tune my diet as much. I'm just going to be reliant on that.
100%. And that's like when you start getting to a slippery slope of back to that first question, side effects. It's like you're already taking a substance, whether it's TRT or include whatever else, that's already going to be messing with like your cholesterol, your blood pressure, all this stuff. And then you couple that with a shit diet because now you're getting lazy. Dude, you're in for it.
Yeah. Let's see. Can performance-enhancing drugs or steroids affect your mental health? We all know the physical stuff, but what about the mental?
Yes, I think from the steroid component, like the trends, like D-ball, anadrol, things like that, whatever is out there, I think those can negatively impact your mental health. I also think the TRT can. I do know TRT will make you feel better mood-wise. You'll have better clarity, all that stuff. You will just feel better, flat out. But I think the part where people miss is it's not necessarily always about the brain chemistry change. It's also about the self-image, body image issue you have. Because a lot of times people who gravitate to shit like this is like those who already have body image issues.
Yeah.
So now you got someone who's taken a substance and they feel a certain type of way. And then all of a sudden what they see in the mirror is not what everyone else sees. And that dysmorphia gets real heavy. Now they start taking more. Now they start doing more. Now they start trying to push more because what they see in the mirror is not what the rest of the world sees. And they're chasing this flagpole that they keep moving around. And the thing is, like, when it comes to taking any of these substances, there's no, I'm just going to take it for a little bit and then stop.
Yeah,
Because-
actually, finish your thought real quick, and then I want to pick
I was
it
gonna say,
up.
no one's gonna stop off that because why would you voluntarily stop feeling like a god? If you go for a period of time where all of a sudden you're feeling kind of okay, mediocre, if you had low T, kind of subpar, and now all of a sudden you feel like a hoss in the weight room, you recover, your libido's through the freaking roof, you're focused in the day, super, like, you got all this going on, why would you voluntarily step away from that?
True.
It's like being a world champ and then be like, okay, I had enough.
Not
When
for
you're
me.
in your peak.
Yeah. And what I was going to piggyback off of that was, what does happen when you stop?
Let me tell you.
And I guess, guys, performance-enhancing drugs, steroids, TRT, it's such a broad spectrum. There's so many. We obviously cannot tap on every single one, the side effects, what's going to happen when you stop or not. So keep in mind, these answers are all going to be very broad to kind of cater to all.
And it's kind of just from our limited scope of knowledge and
Yeah.
just crude Googles and experiences, etc. So what happens when you stop? I'll give you a little bit of insight of my history when I was younger, because when I was a much younger Asim, I was a much dumber Asim. So I came into the fitness industry at a very young age. And when you're the youngest dude, smallest dude in a facility where everyone else is fucking yoked and doing things, it became a natural progression to eventually get curious and try things. But obviously, me being someone who faints at the sight of a needle, didn't want to try actual drugs.
Right.
So at the time, pro hormones, SARMs weren't a thing, so pro hormones were more of a thing back then. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, it's this substance I can just buy over the counter. How could it harm me? And when you're 18 years old, 19 years old, you're not thinking about side effects. You're thinking about...
Yeah, this is a business giving me this.
Oh. Yeah. In my mind, I'm like...
Must be safe.
Exactly. So I started doing things and dabbling around with different products, pro hormones specifically. And, I mean, the results were there. Could I have gotten those naturally? Probably. It just sped it up a little bit. Maybe it was in my head, and maybe the training was good. 'Cause my diet was always dialed. And my brother and I we have fairly good genetics when it comes to this. So we got lucky in this department to a degree. And the results are pretty good. But what no one told me was what you're supposed to do afterwards and what the side effects were if you didn't do what you were supposed to do afterwards. And granted, with pro hormones, generally speaking, you're supposed to just take it, run the course, stop, move on. Me being me, and with the mentality of more is more, when I started feeling good, I took more. Just like you drink caffeine, you feel good, you drink more. So I just started taking more and more and more, and the results were faster and faster and great and great. And then when I stopped, it was the worst feeling I've ever felt in my life. I felt like I was dying. It was the hardest thing for me just to get out of bed.
Was it your body or your mind?
Everything. I mean, so since I was a kid, I've always been shredded. I've never had like an ounce of body fat. This was the first time body fat accumulated on my body afterwards. And it was like quickly, all of a sudden, body fat started accruing, which was not a thing for me. It was hard for me to recover from workouts. My mental fog was out of this world. My sleep sucked. I was angry all the freaking time. I was already an angry kid. Now I'm even more angry.
Wait, so you're saying you got more angry actually when you stopped?
Oh, dude, yeah, because like you're foggy, confused, and tired. So I was just in an irritable state at all times.
Oh.
So that was like a hairpin trigger at all times. It was terrible. So that happened. That sucked. But I enjoyed it. Trained all the time. And then and trying to run a business and do all this stuff, and it was just juggling school. It was just I chalked up my fatigue to the fact that I was training so many hours a day. I was trying to acquire all this knowledge, train all these people for free. Go to school, working 1 to 2 jobs. It was just, I was doing a lot. And I chalked up the fact that I was napping all day long to the fact that I was not sleeping at night and I was training all day long. And then one day, Layla was like, try to go get your hormones tested. And in my mind, I'm like, because through all that dip, I didn't really get stronger through the pro hormones, which is the funny part. I got pretty jacked, but I did not get stronger.
Really?
It was after the fact that I ended up getting much stronger years later. And so in my mind, I'm like, I'm over 200 pounds at 5'8". I'm strong as shit. And I'm doing all these things. I don't have low T. And she's like, I think you need to go get your levels tested. And so I finally bit the bullet, went and got tested. Turns out after 7 concussions, a pituitary gland that doesn't work, and a pro-hormone abuse, your body's pretty screwed. So I went and got my levels tested, and they were scary low.
Really?
Super low.
Even after having taken?
Oh, dude, yeah, they were crazy. I don't know where they were at the time, because obviously, like, blood work and all that stuff wasn't something no one told me to do. And also, I'm terrified of needles, so like, I'm not gonna willingly just go get blood work done.
Right.
I'm gonna do everything I can to fight, and I'm that guy who, if I get blood work, I gotta lay down and look the other way. Like, I'm covered in tattoos, but that's a full-on facade. It's not the same. So I went and got the blood work done, and they're like, yeah, this is super freaking low. Like, maybe don't do drugs. And I was like, I'm not. I haven't done anything in like, I don't know, 5 years, maybe longer. So then got tested, started Googling my options, found an endocrinologist, and just for a consult, it was like $585, something like that, just to talk to the dude. And I was like,
damn.
Yeah, dude, I'm making nothing right now.
I'm in the wrong line of work.
Yeah, dude, that's what I'm saying. So I was like, I can't afford that. So I was like, fuck, I can't do this. So then I'm sitting there talking, and I talked to a guy I trained with, and he's pretty yoked. And I was like, dude, I'm feeling this. This is what my numbers were. I feel like I'm dying. but I'm strong. I'm not seeing the low T effects in the weight room. I'm only seeing it when I'm not in the weight room. But also, which is like all gas, no brakes in the weight room. And I guess all the energy I did have went there, but everything else was suffering. So this sounds, once again, disclaimer, don't fucking do what I just did. I was like 22. I was like 22 at
We
the time.
have grown more wise. Also,
Yes.
if you hear clanging and banging in the background, sorry about that, guys. We are reporting live from the gym. People are putting in work out there.
It's summertime and the gym is packed.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so anyways, gives me a number and he's like, reach out to this guy, tell him your story. I reached out to the guy, texted him. Once again, no phone call, just texted the dude, told him my story. He's like, oh, no worries, dude, I'll help you out. Give me your number, give me your address. Bada bing, bada boom. I have a box in my door. And
That easy?
That, unfortunately.
Wow.
And there's a substance there. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, cool. And dude, this is like, I don't know, 12 years ago, maybe?
That long?
11 years ago?
So you were like 20?
21,
21, something
yeah,
like that?
22. Yeah, so this is over a decade ago.
Wow.
And so I tried this stuff, and it was around Ramadan. It was during Ramadan. Was like Ramadan hit during this, and he was like, "Yeah, it's like 12 weeks. Try this. It should bring you back to normal. No instructions of anything else. What I should do afterwards. No preparation." Once again, me being the more is more, I started feeling incredibly good. So I took a little bit more than I probably should have, and it ended like at 9 weeks, 10-week mark. I added like 15 pounds of body weight during Ramadan, which was crazy. I didn't change my diet, and I added 40 pounds to my bench 5x5 in that period. It was insane. I got pretty freaking stacked. And then when I got off, then when I ended, probably like 2 weeks later, it was the worst I've ever felt in my entire life. It was like stand in traffic type feeling. I was like, this is the worst I have ever felt. Yeah, dude, it was crazy. I'm like, what the fuck is happening to me right now? This was supposed to make me feel better. It made me feel worse. So getting night sweats, coughs, all these crazy side effects. And then like I remember one day during practice, someone put me in side control and my chest felt sensitive. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? And like visually there's nothing there, but I could feel the sensitivity in my chest. And I guess it was like a low grade gyno. I'm like, what the fuck just happened?
Weird.
So long story short, sitting there, do this trench of feeling like crap for months, finally reach out to somebody, talk to them about it. And long story short, what I thought I was taking was not what I was taking. It was a far stronger substance. And yeah, I definitely, yeah, it was terrible. It was the worst I ever felt. It was the worst decision I ever made because the effects lasted till now. Like it has not.
Oh, really?
Oh, absolutely. And it's like
That's why you need to be careful, guys.
100%. None of this stuff is like I'm gonna do a little bit and then I'm good to go. And if you're someone who is highly competitive and driven to push yourself, you're not gonna just do a little bit. No one dabbles. Like it's like I'm gonna drink just a little bit of protein. No, you're gonna drink all the protein shake.
Yeah. Yep.
So like if you're not willing to do that for the rest of your life, don't do it.
I was about to say, kind of my perspective of things on it are, I mean, we always talk about, get your sleep dialed in, get your diet dialed in, exercise, keep yourself healthy. I personally have never taken anything. I don't necessarily plan to, but if all those things are 100% dialed in, and you have those genetics, and you want to be something like a Mr. Olympia, and you're super into bodybuilding or something like that, that's maybe when I could kind of understand wanting to make that jump or something
I think that's a good segue of me saying.
And by the way, I'm not hating on anybody that does take shit at all.
I just want to be completely clear too. I'm not against PEDs. I think they're great. Of any capacity. I mean, fuck. People take Adderall for gaming. Like, I was a pro gamer when I was a kid. Like, I think PEDs are a thing. Whether they are right or wrong is your own individual decision. Is it cheating? That's up to you. Who are you cheating? But for me, I'm not against it, nor am I for it. I think that they're a thing, and it's great that they're a thing, but I think it's dangerous because the education is so low and the accessibility is so freaking high. So for me, my recommendation is, because I get asked all the time. I literally had a conversation today with somebody about it. They asked me about it. And my answer is always, I'm not against it. However, I will not help you and or advise you for it because I will refuse to be a part of someone's journey that's going to be an inevitable journey that you haven't thought through and you're not ready for.
Well, and you can't know everything about that person's health and their prior medical history.
But even then, like if you go to a doctor, like first of all, go to a doctor. Don't go to some random Joe in the back of a Gold's Gym or whatever gym it is. Like, don't do that. Go to a doctor, get monitored, get your blood work taken. Go to a clinic, whatever it is. Obviously, it's great. You watch any jiu-jitsu competition, major competition, you'll see that clearly there's people doing it, right? It's not a secret anymore. Everyone's very open about talking about it. My personal belief is, if you are going to do it, understand that you're not going to just do it for a little bit. It's a lifelong commitment, because you're not going to willingly step down from the throne. That's just not going to be a thing.
Yeah.
I can't see why someone would do that. Maybe you have more willpower and you want to, and maybe kids become a factor, but there's other things you can do to augment that. So I think with modern chemistry, if you will, if you're going to start, you're not going to stop. There's just too many ways to kind of work around it. If you are going to do it, you're a freaking adult. You can make your own damn decision. Go to a doctor. Get clearance. Also, if you're a competitor, think about what federations and sport you're competing in. Don't neuter yourself from competition potential because you got eager to shorten your to try to get to your gains quicker, but now you can't compete because it's illegal in your sport.
Right.
So if you're a competitor, I mean, you got a lot more to consider than just your health. And if you're not a competitor, I mean, you got to think about your future. You got to think about the side effects. You also got to think about, are you willing to do this for the rest of your life? Because it's not a short-term thing. And if you decide to try to make it a short-term thing like I did, you're gonna reap the negative side effects, and they take forever to recover from. It took me a long ass time. I mean, 33 now, and I feel great now. But there's some things that still linger in the background, and it's like there's just some things that I don't think are gonna reverse, but it is what it is. I made my bed when I was a young kid. I was dumb, not educated. And my hopes is someone doesn't make the same dumb mistake.
Yeah, no, I was about to say, it takes a lot of strength and courage to be as transparent as you are about this kind of stuff. And, like, this, guys, this is the whole point of the podcast. We're trying to help y'all.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like, the thing is, like, jiu-jitsu is a sport I love. Lifting is the paintbrush that I look at of how to create the life you want to create, right? This weight room created the life that we have, and jiu-jitsu is a sport that we love. What I don't want to see, especially with the way the sport is going, for people to start jumping the gun, because this is a fucking clinic everywhere. You can go on online websites and do all this stuff.
Yeah.
Once again, I'm not against it, but it's so accessible, but the education is so minimal that I think unless people start having open dialogue about their usage, their history, and or allowing people to have better education about it, people aren't going to make educated decisions because people are going to do it anyways. It's not like... It's not one of those things where it's like, okay, don't drink ever again. Like, no, we gotta be realistic here.
Right.
People are gonna try it. People are gonna get curious, and someone's gonna get beaten in a competition and be like, oh, it's because steroids, and then they're gonna start thinking about it. It's in the back of their head, and a couple years later, now they're blasting, and then they realize it actually wasn't all that they made it out to be, but now they're kind of stuck. So it's like I want it to be one of those things where, like, I'm hoping that by me talking about it and my history when I was a younger, early 20s, that allows others to have the platform to talk more openly about it, because until we start being more open about our own things and we don't put ourselves on this pedestal, it doesn't allow others to have the platform to do so as well. I think once people can start having open dialogues about it, which is great, you see YouTube videos all the time, like Craig Jones, etc., are talking about it, which I think is huge to have these big influences in the sport talking about it, because it really gives people an idea of, like, okay, what is actually being done and what is the results, and then what are the side effects. If you're gonna do it, be educated. We don't condone it. I'm not against it. I just don't condone it. I'm not gonna help you out or kind of guide you one way or the other. Just find a clinic, find someone who can talk to you and help you out and guide you. And more importantly, go get your blood work done. Go talk to a doctor and make sure you're not gonna exacerbate something else you didn't know that was there. Because that's something people don't think about is, you may have some other underlining health issues that by dabbling in whatever dark arts you want to dabble in, you now awaken something that was dormant.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, that's a super good point. Yeah. And guys, a lot of times there's a saying, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And I think that might be part of the reason that there is so little education and documentation out there on a lot of this stuff. There is documentation and whatnot on it, but I feel like that's so hidden. All the glorified aspects of a lot of this kind of stuff is really out there, but not as much the side effect portions.
Absolutely. Yeah, and just be educated. I mean, like...
Also keep in mind, a lot of the places that are selling you this kind of stuff or people or whatnot, they're a freaking business.
Yes.
They're trying to make money. They're not going to tell you you're going to get back knee and grow man boobs or whatever else. They're going to tell you all the cool stuff, which might not necessarily apply to you given your genetics and prior medical history.
Yeah. The amount of people I've seen prescribed TRT that don't actually have low T, they just have like slightly below the top end or slightly below the average. And the doctors go, oh yeah, you're a candidate. And they give them fucking 200 milligrams of Cypionate a week. It's like, holy shit, bro. You were a normal person. And like, you maybe had a bad week. Maybe you should have not fapped the night before. Like, maybe just for that short window of time, your T levels dropped 100 points, just below the average, which is still not bad. And now your doctor's like, green light, send it, put a needle in your butt. And it's like, holy fuck, dude. There's a lot of carelessness out there. You need to have some, what's the word I'm looking for? Self-preservation skills, and look out for yourself and think to yourself, okay, my number's actually low. Can I push this back another 5 or 10 years? If my dad were to come up to me and be like, hey, I'm thinking TRT, I'd be like, why? Go talk to a doctor. And I mean, if it will help you and you're going to get it monitored, then go for it. But if someone were to be like, hey, I suck at my sport, I'm getting dunked on by these dudes, I'm going to start putting a needle in my butt and try these things. What are your thoughts on it? I'm like, I think you got other things to worry about, dude, before you start thinking about the chemicals you're consuming.
Yeah.
And the first thing is, are you eating correctly? Are you lifting? Are you recovering? How's your stress management? How's your training? Right? On that day when you got beat, can you look back at everything you did up in that camp, and can you honestly say you've done everything you possibly could? The majority of people can't answer that. The majority of people will say they could have done a little bit more. Gun to your head, $1 million on the line. Could you have done more? Most people's answer is going to be yes. So why the hell are you going to go to a chemical when there's still stones left unturned?
It goes back to those habits aren't built yet. Get everything else dialed in. If you're still feeling like you want to do something, do it educated. Talk to a doctor. Do it the right way.
Dude, it's like someone comes in here and be like, yo, I'm lifting. I just want to get into lifting. I just started. And they can barely squat a bar and a 10 on each side. And they're maybe 130 pounds. Like, should I start taking creatine and protein? I'm like, dude, just eat a chicken breast, eat a steak, and go lift more. Like, you need to get the habit of lifting and just eating on a cadence first and get your sleep right before you start adding. Worry about learning how to drive the car before you buy the car, and then worry about buying the car and driving that car before you go buy the tint and bells and whistles for the car. Most people do it in reverse order, and they major in their minors by focusing on the small things that add percentile increases to a system. But the thing is, if you don't have a system, you're buying a bunch of things that don't work for anything. It's like buying tint for a car you don't own yet. Makes no sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I love this. I absolutely love this conversation because, one, I'm fairly open about it. I don't want to say I'm pro because I want to be careful what I say on air. I'm not against it. I think it's a thing. I have my own history with it. If I was offered it later in life, I'd probably say no. I can't predict what 10 years from now Asim would say, but today Asim would say I ain't doing steroids. TRT for sure, but like anything beyond a therapeutical dose just doesn't make sense. I mean, I'm a business owner. I'm not a competitive athlete. I'm not trying to set records.
It goes back to your goals, like the episode that
I'm just trying to live a good life. So I just want to do things. For me, everything I do now is geared around longevity, to the way I eat, the timing I eat, my sleeping, the business. I'm trying to create a longer life. If you were to ask me this question when I was like, actually, funny story. Shout out to Sean Stutman. He did ask me a question like this when I was like 22. And he was like, if you had to take a pill, it was something along the lines of like, okay, on one choice, you get to be world champion, the best at what you do, blah, 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 in 5 years, but then you're dead. Or you live a long, healthy life and you never really succeed. Which one do you do? I'm like, dude, you know the answer to that. Yeah, peace. I'm out. 25 was good. That was a younger version of me. Now I'm looking at like, okay, how do I extend my shelf life? How do I increase my landing strip? How do I make life more enjoyable longer? Like back then, I was okay waking up achy in pain because I lifted super hard and trained super hard the night before and barely slept because I was up all night playing Call of Duty. That was fine back then. But quality of life actually matters now. Yeah. So for me, it's like, I just want to do things that make me live longer and like enjoy life better. Because like back then I lived to lift. Everything outside of the mats, especially the weight room. The mats were like a means to an end. Everything outside of the weight room was intermission in my life. So from like 15, 16 years old till like, I want to say 25, 26 when Layla straightened me up. I would say I was live to lift. Then I made this switch to lift to live. So now everything I do in the weight room is to enhance my experience outside of the weight room. Obviously, I go on side quests like a muscle up or a 605-pound deadlift and all these different things aren't going to do anything for me outside of here. And I'm probably going to be a little bit more sore than I should be.
Right.
But the majority, 90, 80% of my training is to make my life experience outside of the weight room better. Period.
Makes sense.
But I mean, I think that comes with age. And you want to allow yourself to get to that point. You want to wreck your body in your early 20s or when you're too young, right? Doing dumb things like substance abuse, etc. So you never get an opportunity to get to a point where it's like, longevity actually matters.
And to that point, man, we're in our 30s. I'm sure we have people listening in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, maybe beyond. Mm-hmm. But think about today's day and age. They didn't have TikTok and all this stuff when we were kids. And so kids these days, I feel like they're so much more saturated with videos, clips of all this kind of stuff and people taking it. Even I see it all over my
feeds. The social pressure is crazy.
That's a good way to put it. The social pressure is nuts.
Yeah.
But just remember, there's always going to be someone bigger. There's always going to be someone faster, stronger, whatever. Comparison's the thief of joy. Like we've been saying,
that's such a good line.
We don't necessarily condone the stuff. We're not against it or anything like that, but we want y'all to be educated about it.
100%. And I think one thing that you and I got along with early on, because we both identified the same trait, is highly addictive personalities.
Yes.
Look at this podcast. This is a perfect example.
We started April 1st and this is the 11th episode.
Yeah, and literally that morning I shot the podcast with Scott and Mike at their place for Fighters Drinking Coffee. And then I called you right after. I was like, dude,
do you want to do a podcast?
And I drove straight to Best Buy or Microsoft or whatever it was. Picked up all the stuff. We met here and we shot within like 2 hours, 3 hours, something like that. And then like the rest of the day, we're on the phone with our boy Raph from Grappling Hour, and just trying to figure out how to edit. Like we learned how to do all this stuff like in a 24-hour period because we just made a switch. We're doing this.
Yeah.
But then like this is all we've been focusing on. Like any downtime we have outside of working on the business and the events and all the competition that we're doing with all the clients, it's all that extra time has been to this.
Yeah, it's like thinking about, what gear can we get? Should we change up the intro? Should we change up the outro? What kind of topics should we tackle?
How many sub shots do we do before we even shoot a podcast? We have all these like tester shots right before this.
Yeah.
Even before this one, we did a bunch. So it's like when you have a personality like that, and you have a personality like that, be really freaking careful of which direction you point that barrel.
Yes.
Because if you're like that, which is how we are, momentum will roll in any direction you put it in. Make sure you point it in the right direction.
For instance, I went on vacation and took a rest day, and I'm not going to tell you how many rest days in a row. I should probably be the one clanging and banging the weights out there.
Yeah, 100%. So it's like...
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, momentum builds its way in any direction, and if you start pointing in the direction of substances and you have an addictive personality and a lot of drive, it's a recipe for disaster. It's not going to be a good time. So careful. Bottom line, this is a long way of saying steroids are real. TRT is a real thing, and most of the time it dances a line between therapeutic and performance enhancing. And in a day and age where there's a clinic at the end of every YouTube video you watch, there's a clinic being promoted on almost every Instagram video you watch online. You see jiu-jitsu competitions where there's sponsorship, names of these clinics on the mats or in the events, with a huge abundance of accessibility, but still this kind of like hush-hush mentality where no one talks about it and a lack of education. We're in a very dangerous age. I kind of miss when it was like the back room kind of deal, because it was the barrier to entry was so high that it was too hard to get to.
Yeah, unless you were trying.
It's like a badge of honor that you got to it.
Yeah.
Now it's like, dude, if I Googled it or grabbed my phone and I quickly Googled it, I'm sure the entire front page of Google would just be TRT clinics, and they're probably all around us. Like we live in a pretty well-off area. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's one within 10 miles from here, and you can just walk right in. I'm not gonna say you just walk right in and do whatever, but like to get it is way too easy. But to get the unbiased, unfiltered education that's going to tell you in a realistic human way what you're getting yourself into is not as easily accessible, especially from figureheads that are in positions of power in the performance world, which is what I'm in, or the combat world, which is the people I deal with on a regular basis. If figureheads aren't open and willing to talk because they're afraid of how they're going to be seen and judged, I think it really, all it does is it hurts the people that are following them. Like if I never talked about it and I just turned a blind eye, or I said, oh yeah, it's great, but I never talked about my side effects from it, that only hurts people.
100%.
And when you are in a position of power and or you have a community that follows you, it is your duty to not only be transparent, but it is 100% your duty to live beyond yourself and guide them correctly. Not saying you hold their hands and tell them what to do with dosages, but like if you are using or you have used, not saying put it on blast and just post on Instagram, hey, by the way, this is what I did. It's if someone asks you, don't be like, I never did it. Natty for life. Like I can never claim Natty for life now because of what I've done when I was like literally 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. Right? Like it would not feel right to say that, although those gains are gone, right?
But also it pisses me off when people, again, I haven't taken anything, but it pisses me off when people are like, oh, you just cheated. You want the fast track. Oh, he took steroids, whatever. Bitch, it still takes work.
Yeah, you still got to lift the weight.
You don't just take it.
You still got to train.
Exactly. That's why some of the people that are on here have some of the worst physiques. You know, not everybody looks like a freaking statue.
Yeah, 100%. So I think if you're in a position of power, you have a duty. And if you're following someone who's in a position of power and they aren't willing to disclose and or be transparent, you got to be your own advocate.
Yeah.
You got, at the end of the day, no one's going to look out for you like you're going to look out for yourself. Advocate for yourself. Do your homework and make an educated decision. You're an adult. If you're listening to this, you're probably an adult, hopefully. And if you
not,
are,
turn this off.
Yeah, if you're not, this never happened. But yeah, just do your homework, dude, and don't fuck yourself up because it's a rocky road. It's a fun one, but it's a rocky one.
On that note, I wish I could mic drop this. It's connected though. But guys, that's all the time we got for today. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks as always for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.
Peace.